We're live.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on day 2 of High School Senior Day. You're in the right place, and you're going to get a lot of great information today. We are going to meet live with financial aid technicians to get everything you need to know about financial aid. You've worked really hard on your FAFSA, now what, right? So we want to make sure you know how to follow up on all your FAFSA information. My name's Beth. I'm with Outreach at Mount San Jacinto College. I'm joined with my co-host Maricela Magana from Outreach and Student Life, and Suzanne Ortega as well. We're going to kind of be in the background and let you get all this great information from financial aid. But just real quick, I want you to know to join us tomorrow as well for day 3 of High School Senior Day, where you will meet live with counseling. And that is at the same time, same place. And when you pre-registered, you got the link. If you need the link again or want to share information, email Outreach. It's simply outreach@msjc.edu, and I will reply. That's also with any questions you have about today's session. But you're going to get a lot of great resources to follow up with financial aid as well. Know also that day 1 is also at YouTube still. If you missed it and you wanted to go back or share that with anybody, that's all about how to apply to the college. And that's really your first step. We need to know who you are. And then once you apply to MSJC, your FAFSA will meet up and match up. So use your social security number on your FAFSA and then do your FAFSA. If you haven't done it already, you're going to learn how to do that today. So tomorrow's day 3, ask a lot of questions, and the resource for all departments at MSJC, because we're in this virtual world now, is msjc.edu/hub, HUB. So let's dive into it. I'm going to introduce to you your presenters today. We have Whitney Griffiths. We have Emily Pascualito. I hope I didn't annihilate your last name, Emily. And Jonica Escobar, and they will answer your questions on the chat as well. Jonica, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you, Beth. Hello and welcome to High School Senior Day. I'm Jonica Escobar from the Financial Aid Office at MSJC. The financial aid presentation will begin shortly. Should you have any questions, please submit them to the chat box, as Emily and I will be providing responses and additional resources throughout the presentation. We do advise that any questions containing personal information or sensitive information be addressed through our virtual lobby or over the phone, as the chat box is visible to other participants. Our presenter today is Whitney Griffiths. Whitney has been with MSJC for 4 years and serves as our financial aid coordinator. Prior to becoming an Eagle herself, Whitney worked in financial aid at UC San Diego for 3.5 years. Whitney.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so happy to be with you today. So what we're going to go over is some general information about financial aid, but more importantly, what you need to know about financial aid now that you're here as an Eagle yourself at MSJC. So we're going to jump right into it. All right, so hopefully you all know this already, but what is financial aid? Financial aid is funding provided to students and families to help out with the post-secondary cost of college. So we'll go over how you can use any financial aid that you're eligible for to help out with those expenses as a college student. So as I mentioned, financial aid is money to you to help out with costs of attending college. So there's a variety of costs that you're going to encounter as a college student, and it's not just direct charges on your account like tuition and fees. Financial aid is there to help also with housing, things like transportation, personal expenses, books and supplies. So really all of the things that you need to think about as a full-time college student and what kinds of costs you can incur so that you can focus on your school. Financial aid is there to help out with those costs. So financial needs. So every year you're going to do either your FAFSA or your DREAM Act application. And essentially financial need is the calculation of a student's cost of attendance minus your expected family contribution number. When you complete your FAFSA or your DREAM Act application, you might notice at the very end, you get a confirmation page and it gives you an EFC. A lot of students are like, what do those numbers even mean? But essentially your EFC is a combination of a student's contribution and a parent's contribution if you're a dependent student. So the two of those together is what gives you your expected family contribution number. Now, when you are completing your financial aid applications, you may notice or remember that it asks what your housing plans are going to be while you're attending college for that year. So it asks you on campus, off campus, or with parent. That question is actually what's used to also assign your cost of attendance. Your cost of attendance is a combination of direct charges and non-direct charges. Direct charges, an example of that would be your tuition and fees, any charges that are directly on your student account at the school. Non-direct charges would be things like housing, transportation, sometimes books and supplies, again, things that aren't necessarily a direct charge on your account at the school, but what we need to keep in mind and consider as a college student and the costs that are associated with that. So your cost of attendance minus that expected family contribution number is what's going to result in a student's financial need. And that financial need is going to be filled in with self-help and grant money that you may be eligible for. So every year you do need to complete your FAFSA or your DREAM Act application. So it's not just a one and done, it's something that you have to do for any year that you're considering going to college. If you're a US citizen or permanent resident, you're going to complete your FAFSA application online through studentaid.gov. It is going to ask for things like prior year tax and income information, along with the question that it asks yourself and your parents about household size, number in college, assets. Again, every year it's taking in that information to redetermine what that expected family contribution number is. And you'll hear this a lot throughout the presentation. The first day that you can file your FAFSA or your DREAM Act application is October 1st of every year. You really want to adhere to that opening date as the time frame in which you should submit it. Because March 2nd is another important deadline in the world of financial aid. March 2nd is the state deadline to be considered for Cal grants and other state grants. A lot of other schools use that as their priority deadline. So if you're planning on, after you've left MSJC, transferring over to a four-year institution, these same dates and timeframes would apply. So you always want to know in the financial aid world, October 1st, that's when you can do your new application for the upcoming year. And then you want to make sure it's submitted by March 2nd. So if you're not a US citizen or permanent resident, but you're AB 540 eligible, you would do the DREAM Act application every year. Similar format, similar questions. They're still using that prior year tax and income information. But again, if you're not a US citizen or permanent resident, you would do the DREAM Act application to be considered for state grants. And I just want to let you know you would do the FAFSA to be considered for federal and state. So it's just that one application for federal and state and institutional funding if you're a US citizen or permanent resident. It's the DREAM Act application to be considered for state grant and institution grant if you're AB 540 eligible. And again, you'll do these every year. And as I've been mentioning, important dates, and I want to reiterate, this doesn't just apply to MSJC. This is going to be important deadlines and dates that you need to be aware of if you graduate and transfer to your four-year institution or any time that you're thinking about going to school. So October 1st, again, that's when the applications become available. So the next time you do your FAFSA, and this sounds so far away, but the 2020 year, yeah, you would do that October 1st of this year, and those results would kick in for fall of 21. Another important thing to notate about the March 2nd deadline is it's not just having your financial aid applications submitted by then. The state, to determine Cal Grant eligibility, also looks at your grades. So you need to make sure that your GPA verification form has been submitted to the state also by March 2nd. And a great thing to do, you're going to notice the website at the bottom, mygrantinfo.csac.ca.gov. I highly recommend creating a web grants account through the state, and that's where you can track to see if your grades have been submitted, if the state has received your FAFSA or your DREAM Act application, and potentially if you're going to be Cal Grant eligible. So I highly encourage all students to create that web grants account if you haven't done so already. Okay, so now that we've gone over the applications and the process with that, I want to go over the types of financial aid programs that you'll see here at MSJC. So we offer both federal and state aid programs. This screen is going to highlight the federal and state aid programs that we award here. Pell Grant is the most popular federal aid program for students. That is all based off of those FAFSA results. So you do have to display financial need in order to qualify for Pell Grant. How much Pell Grant you can receive in a specific term is going to be based off of not just that EFC, but also how many units you're enrolled in each term. If you're a Pell Grant recipient, you may also be eligible for SEOG. I just want to stress these grants are based off of financial need. And then we also do offer federal work study, which is a great self-help program. Those are actually jobs set aside on campus, typically on campus, could be different depending on where you're going to school. But if you know that you're a student who also needs to work while you're attending college, you definitely want to inquire about if you've met the eligibility criteria to participate in a federal work study position. So state aid programs, our California College Promise Grant, probably the most popular one at the community college level. That is your fee waiver. A long time ago, not that long, but it used to be called the Board of Governor fee waiver. Now it's called the California College Promise Grant. And again, that's not a cash award. That does just cover your tuition. Cal Grant, that's probably the most popular state aid program. That's a cash award. But again, for Cal Grant eligibility, they're looking at your FAFSA and your DREAM Act results and also your grades and even what program of study you are pursuing in college to determine what type of Cal Grant you may be eligible for. And then if you're a Cal Grant recipient who's also full-time, which full-time is always going to be 12 units or more, ideally, they like you to take 15 units in a term just to make sure that you're on track, making appropriate progress towards completing your program in the 2-year time frame if you're in an associate's. If you're a Cal Grant recipient full-time, you may also be eligible for even more money from the state, and that's the Student Success Completion Grant. If you're a current or former foster youth, there may be even more free money out there for you. Chafee Grant is specific to current or former foster youth. The thing with Chafee Grant is you do have to submit a separate application. So you do your FAFSA or DREAM Act, but then there's a second application that you would also complete to be considered for Chafee Grant. And then also the Burton Book Fund is some additional gift aid to students to help out with books and supplies while you're in college. But again, that's geared towards current or former foster youth. And that does require a separate application as well, but it's very, very short, very easy. Okay, so now after you've done your financial aid applications, what happens next? So this is where I want you to pay really close attention to how our office communicates with students. So it's really, really important, if you haven't done so already, you want to make sure that you've created and logged into your email address at MSJC, because how our office communicates to you is always going to be to your student email at msjc.edu. That's where we're going to let you know if we've received your financial aid application, and then from that point, what the next steps are for you. So you'll receive an acknowledgement every time that we've received a financial aid application for you. And that's going to direct you actually to your next place that you'll want to get really familiar with, which is going to be your student self-service. Okay, so after we've received your financial aid application, many times that is not the last step in the whole process. A lot of students are required to submit some additional documents before our office can further evaluate and determine your awards for federal and state grants. So once we've directed you to your self-service, you'll want to understand how to check your financial aid checklist, because this is where you'll see if there are additional documents that we're asking you to submit. And it's really important to be aware of this information, because a lot of students who don't know that they need to check their MSJC student email or their self-service, and then they're wondering where their financial aid is and how they can get extra money for books and supplies. And then that's where we have to tell them, well, we've been waiting for some documents from you, and we can't process your file further until we've been able to obtain those documents and evaluate them. Also, in your self-service, you'll see some resources for helpful links. So it's going to give you a ton of great information that you have just right at your fingertips through your self-service. So after you've detailed into incomplete documents, this is now an example of seeing exactly what document our office is needing from you. So in this example, a student's been selected for a second review process called verification, which is very normal. That happens to at least 30% of students who complete a FAFSA application. It's a random selection. Some students get it every year, some never do. So just know you didn't do anything wrong if we're asking for these additional documents. It's something that the Department of Education is asking us to follow up before we can officially further process and award aid. So if you're a student who is selected for verification and we're asking for those additional documents on your self-service checklist, this is where you can view that. And then if you click on it next to that arrow, it'll actually bring you right to the form so that you and your parents can complete that form and submit it through our Student Hub, which is where you can now upload securely documents for our office. So you can print that out, complete them, and submit them through the secure document upload on the Student Hub. Okay. Also on this page, you'll see what has been completed. And just know it's going to show you what's been completed for any year that we've received a financial aid application or documents from you. So that's not necessarily year specific, the completed documents, but you definitely want to pay attention to the current year that you're enrolled in and any incomplete documents that we need. Okay, so if we haven't needed any documents from you, or we've gotten all the documents we've needed, and now we've been able to review your file and assess what you're eligible for, the next step in the process is you'll get an email notification letting you know your financial aid awards are available to view also through self-service in your offer letter. And we're going to go over an example of what that offer letter looks like. But essentially that offer letter is going to let you know what you've been awarded, what that's going to look like for the academic year, and it's going to give you a great explanation of what to expect in how to receive a disbursement. So currently our disbursement schedules are always going to be listed online, and every school may disperse funds differently, but here at MSJC, we take what you're eligible for the academic year. And again, enrollment is going to ultimately dictate how much you receive within that term. But we are on a semester schedule. So your entitlement for the academic year is divided between fall and spring. So with that half that you could get for a specific term, that half is divided into 3 installments. So that way you can expect to get a portion of any cash grants that you're eligible for throughout the term. And we have those dictated as our major disbursement dates. So it's important to know when you've received your offer letter, because you have to receive an official offer letter first to then understand when you could potentially receive a disbursement. And again, if you ever have any questions about this, always feel free to inquire with a financial aid technician so we can help you get a clearer picture on when you can expect to receive a disbursement. One thing to also notate is for any new student or for any student who is returning, if they haven't been to MSJC in a while, there's a secondary review process called transfer monitoring that we're required to do. We have to submit your information to the Department of Education to ensure that you're not receiving federal aid at another institution at the same time that you're attending MSJC. So that process starts once you've officially been offered or awarded Pell Grant. There is a 7-day hold that's placed on the first disbursement because we have to receive verification back from the Department of Education that there's no issues and you're good to go. That 7-day hold could delay when you originally thought you were getting a refund. So you're going to get email notification if you're sent out for transfer monitoring. This is just something to be aware of and to be mindful of. But again, if you ever have any questions, always inquire with our office. Also, if you're a student who has any late start classes, know that those late start classes won't be counted towards your Pell Grant entitlement until our last major disbursement of the term, because we can't disperse funds until you're actually seated taking that class. So just being enrolled doesn't count. So it can happen where a student has, let's say they're in 12 units, but one of those classes doesn't start until the middle of the term. Your first 2 disbursements of Pell Grant may be lower, and that last one for the term would then give you what you're entitled to as a full-time student. If I get any questions, always feel free to inquire with our office. Oops. Okay, so this is going to give you an example of that offer letter. And again, this is what you'll be able to utilize through your self-service. There's a drop-down menu and you would click on offer letter to see yours. And your offer letter is going to give you essential information. It's going to let you know what your budget is. And again, that's going to be assigned based off of living either with parents or off campus, what your expected family contribution number is, and what your financial need is showing. It's going to give you a breakdown of your Pell Grant entitlement. So I want you to pay extra attention to the arrow next to Pell Grant entitlement. As I've mentioned, if you're not a full-time student, which is 12 or more units, that's going to impact how much Pell Grant you're eligible to receive. Essentially, it's prorated when you're not a full-time student. So this is some great information in case you're wondering why you're not getting as much as you anticipated. It's most likely going to be based off of how many units you're enrolled in. And then down below, it's going to give you an example of what all of your awards are going to look like. Again, in the awards section, it is anticipating you being a full-time student. So that's why if you're not, you want to pay extra attention to the chart above with Pell entitlement. Okay, so a really important thing to also note and mention is Bank Mobile. MSJC has partnered with Bank Mobile to help deliver refund money to students. You may receive, if you haven't already, it might be on its way to you, a green envelope in the mail from Bank Mobile. You'll also receive an email from them as well. Whether it's in the green envelope or through your email, they're going to give you a personal code that's tied directly to your student ID number here at MSJC. So what Bank Mobile does is they allow a student to set up an account and specify how they want to receive any refund money they may be eligible for from their college. So when you're setting up your account, you do have to use your MSJC student email address. And then you can choose to have the money directly deposited to an existing account that you have. If you don't have your own bank account right now, you can also set up one with Bank Mobile as well. You can do this process as soon as you've received that email or mail communication with that personal ID. This is simply just specifying, hey, if I'm able and eligible to receive any refund money, this is the preference I'm selecting in how I want to receive those funds. So just because you may get this information from Bank Mobile, it doesn't necessarily mean you're eligible for refund money, but because it goes out to all students that have completed their financial aid applications. But if you are eligible, you absolutely want to make sure you do this. If a student fails to ever select a refund preference, that's going to delay how and when you receive these funds. So that's why as soon as you've received this information from Bank Mobile, go ahead and select how you'd like to receive refund money should you be eligible. And just to notate too, you can also change your preference. Let's say you set up the Vibe account first, but you don't like that, and now you want to have your just go to a different bank account, you can do that. All right, so another really important thing to discuss with you guys, because a lot of students, especially when they're new, aren't necessarily aware of this process. When you hear that you've received Pell Grant, that is gift money, that's not money that you have to pay back unless you've been dispersed Pell Grant based off of full-time enrollment. And depending on where we are in the term, if you drop classes, that can put you in a situation where you aren't entitled to all of the money you received, and now you do have to pay a portion of that back. So that's why we really wanted to bring to your attention our repayment policy when you reduce enrollment or withdraw. So it's really important if you are needing to drop classes to obviously talk to a counselor, see how that's going to impact you on the academic side, but also inquire with our office so that we can advise you on how that could cause you to owe money back. So if you are dispersed funds, again, based off of a certain enrollment status, and then depending where we are within that term, if you dropped those classes or some of those classes, and now you're not full-time, you're half-time, or you were half-time and now you're less than half-time, you may end up owing some of that Pell Grant or federal or state aid back. So again, this is just something that we really wanted to bring to your attention because a lot of students aren't aware of that. Another extremely important topic to cover with you guys is something called satisfactory academic progress. So, of course, every year you have to complete your FAFSA or your DREAM Act applications. You have to show entitlement based off of your expected family contribution number. But regardless of those factors, there's also something else that we're required to check at the end of every term. And that is to ensure a student is making progress towards completing their degree. This is a federal rule, so this is something all colleges who offer Title IV funds are going to review. Satisfactory academic progress There's essentially 3 elements to it. A student has to meet all 3 in order to stay eligible for any aid that they can be paid. One is that you're maintaining a cumulative GPA of a 2.0. Another is that you're completing 67% of the classes you've attempted. And lastly, there's a maximum time frame requirement. So, and this is as an example, if you're in an associate's program, you have up to 72 units to complete that. If you haven't completed that program, and now we've gone over the 72 units, you'll be deemed ineligible for your federal aid because that's not meeting the maximum time frame requirement. If you haven't done so already, absolutely meet with a counselor so that you have your education plan set in place and have a clear view of the classes that you need to take each term. Because definitely if a student's adding or dropping classes or not passing those classes, that's going to impact you meeting all of these requirements. So I want to bring to your attention also the statuses that a student can find themselves in if they're not meeting those SAP requirements. So if you're a student who, and let's just say this for an example, if in the fall term, I had some really hard classes, maybe you earned Fs, maybe you had to drop some classes. And now after we've run those SAP requirements at the end of fall, you weren't meeting that cumulative GPA requirement or that completion rate requirement. Now that we're going into spring, you won't just be ineligible in the spring term for your Title IV funds. You will have a term where you're put on a warning status. And essentially in that warning status, it's letting you know, hey, okay, we didn't do so good this last semester. In the spring term, let's pull up that cumulative GPA of the 2.0 or meet that completion rate. So you essentially have that one term to pull up what requirement you weren't able to meet. Now, if after the spring term, you still weren't able to pull up that GPA, then you would go into a denied status with your federal funds. So very important to be mindful of these different statuses and just knowing where you are in all of these requirements because it can impact your ability to keep receiving financial aid. So one awesome feature again on your self-service is you can actually check your SAP status. So you can know exactly where you are currently in meeting these requirements. And then it's also going to give you a detailed explanation of what all of those requirements are. So again, looking to the arrow, this will let you know what your most recent SAP standing is. So self-service is absolutely something that you want to make sure that you check all the time just to be aware of where you are in meeting all of these requirements. Of course, you can always come and talk to us as well. Okay, so now I just want to go over some tips for success. A lot of them I've been touching on throughout the presentation. Just because some things I can't stress enough, like how important it is to check your student email. You want to make sure that you're checking that on a regular basis. That is how our office is going to communicate any important information pertaining to you specifically, or also just our student population in general, like alerting you of important deadlines and processes. Being aware of deadlines. We have document deadlines throughout each term. So if you do owe documents, you want to make sure that you know when your last day to submit those documents are so that you can still be considered for any federal funds. Always speak to us if you have any questions. Again, if you're thinking that you have to drop classes, you want to know how that's going to impact your financial aid, really maintain good communication with our office. We're always here to help you. And alongside counseling too, make sure that you have that education plan set in place, that you are meeting with a counselor if you're not sure about what classes you should take, or if you're thinking about changing your major or anything like that. Only register for classes that you actually need. Do not withdraw excessively from classes. And then, of course, as we've been talking about this, being aware of what your SAP status is. So also, just so that completing your FAFSA and your DREAM applications every year is absolutely how you're considered for federal and state aid. But there is other free money out there for students in forms of scholarships. We have scholarships here at MSJC. These links are going to give you the websites to where you can check on upcoming applications. Donors can approach MSJC throughout the year at any time with interest in giving scholarship funds for our students. So I would make this a process too, where maybe once a month you're checking in to see what scholarship opportunities might be available. But there's absolutely other free money out there for students. You just have to be proactive in researching that and knowing the deadlines and knowing what's available, because you never know. And a lot of students, I don't think take the time to give the attention to scholarships or to do the research, but a lot of times it's just knowing where to look and where to find things. So absolutely utilize the MSJC website, the foundation office, for scholarship opportunities. Also, here at MSJC, we do have a MSJC Foundation Pledge for Success. Especially in our times right now, we realize that a lot of students are suffering through things like food insecurities, needing extra money for books and supplies, professional clothing, hygiene products. So here we do have a commitment to helping to supply those basic needs for students. So aside from just those financial aid applications, just know there are resources here on campus if you ever find yourself struggling, with any of these categories. Also, for students who, did your FAFSA or your DREAM Act application, but let's say you weren't meeting the criteria or the eligibility criteria to qualify for anything, and you didn't even qualify for the California College Promise Grant, which is that fee waiver. Here at MSJC, we do offer our MSJC Promise program. And this is designed for students who weren't eligible for those need-based funds. This is how you can have your tuition covered if you have completed your FAFSA or your DREAM Act application, because you still need to do that to display you weren't meeting those need components to qualify for the state fee waiver. If you're a full-time student meeting this current criteria, you may be considered ineligible for the MSJC Promise program. One thing with the Promise program is this currently works more as a reimbursement program. The main reason for that is because we have to, at the end of every term, ensure that you're meeting all of the criteria, like maintaining that cumulative GPA and being enrolled in 12 or more units. You do need to be also enrolled in the first year experience program, which they're our next presenter. So this is a great opportunity to learn more about. It's an amazing program just in general for students. But again, currently this is the criteria to be considered for the MSJC Promise program, which can help with the cost of tuition if you weren't eligible for anything else through FAFSA or DREAM Act. Okay, guys, so I know financial aid, we went over a lot of information. The financial aid process can just be very overwhelming and stressful to begin with, but it is absolutely our job in our office to help take away some of the stress and anxiety that we face when it comes to applying for financial aid and figuring out what you're eligible for. Please know that we are available now through our student hub, through our Cranium Cafe lobby system, and that's where you can meet with a financial aid technician. We also have our phone listed as well, and as well as our email too. So any questions that you have throughout your time as you get ready to come in the summer or the fall, we're here and we're available to assist you. Are there any questions? I know Jonica and Emily have probably been really busy in the chat. One moment.
Great work, Whitney. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
answering questions like crazy in the chat I see on YouTube. You gave a lot of great information and people are taking it all in. There's a little delay, so we'll just sit tight here and answer questions.
Okay, sounds good. Let me know too if there's anything I can touch back on, or any
I'm
questions.
wondering, yeah, if maybe you can share, you've got your screen up, maybe show the website. So they have a visual of Eagle Advisor, a visual of the hub. Any helpful links you think? The
Yeah.
financial aid website where the code is put, the federal school code, and all those great videos there, financial aid TV, stuff like that. Give it a little tour of the website while we're taking questions and waiting for FYE.
Perfect. Okay.
If you want to do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry, I'm trying to move my panel so I can, there we go. Okay, so this is the student support hub that I was talking about. So there's different departments represented here. So this is the financial aid one. And you would just bring this. This is how you would get to our email, to our virtual lobby system. And then if you need to securely upload documents, this is the area that you would do this. One thing I want to touch on, I'll bring you here just so you can kind of see what it looks like. So if you're a student that needs to submit documents, you would put in your information here. And then one area can be a little confusing is even though you're in the financial aid office trying to upload documents, you still have to specify our office again here, upload financial aid documents. So you would just click on that and put in your attachments. After you've submitted those documents, shortly after, you'll receive an email confirmation letting you know that it was submitted. And then you still need to give it a few business days for our office to be able to retrieve it and upload it into our system for review. But this would be now where you can securely upload those documents. Ooh. Okay, and then I'm just going to bring you to our financial aid homepage. So also a great resource is just our financial aid website in general. This is going to give you our school code. So if you haven't done your FAFSA or DREAM Act, you can still do it. There's definitely time. That's our federal school code that you would put in those. And it's going to let you see where all of our forms are located, our disbursement schedule, information about all of those aid programs. And then we have our financial aid TV, which I'm a very visual person, and these are just great videos to give you information on all various processes with financial aid. So they're short, they're to the point, and they just give great information. And bear with me one second. And then I'm also going to put up our flyer for you guys. Okay, bear with me one moment. I'm going to Guys, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a moment so I can pull up some more information for you. Bear with me one moment.
Excellent. Yeah, guys. We're going to hear from FYE shortly. We're on time, so hang tight while Whitney gets her screen set up. She's showing some really great resources. And we're almost done. We have about 15 more minutes. We can stop a little sooner because FYE is in the house, or we can go longer on either session. Thank you. Some great questions being asked in the chat, some great resources and links. Thanks to Emily, thanks to Jonica for being there and sharing your financial aid expertise, because we're all different departments and we know a little bit about each other, but it's great to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
All right. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see this well. Let me. So here's our flyer, just again about touching base on our federal aid programs, and then also our school code, and then also just information about our campus locations, and again, how to get in touch with us through the virtual lobby and the phone and email. It's also going to let you know about our office hours currently as well. I don't want it to be, hopefully it's not too small print. And again, please let me know if there's any area of the presentation you'd like me to revisit as well before FYE comes to present.
So yeah, financial aid, let's recap. I heard that you should renew your FAFSA every year that you are enrolled in college. I heard that it's open every October, and a lot of the priority consideration is for those who apply to their FAFSA early. And the deadline for the larger award amounts is March 2nd. I understand too, correct me if I'm wrong, that you can still apply to MSJC or rather for FAFSA and be eligible for our fee waiver beyond that March 2nd deadline. But for the larger amounts, and just to be on the safe side, everybody, renew your FAFSA before the March 2nd deadline so you're eligible for those larger amounts.
Yeah, that would be correct. For the fee waiver eligibility, it's year round. So if you haven't, again, done your FAFSA or your DREAM Act, you can do that throughout the year. For federal aid consideration, like the Pell Grant, that's also year round too. But for our state deadlines and priority funding, that's the March 2nd deadline. And for Cal Grant, again, you have to have both your FAFSA and DREAM Act or DREAM Act submitted by March 2nd and that GPA verification submitted by March 2nd.
And also follow-up is so important. You know, high schoolers, congrats on graduating. Now it's kind of a different world and you got to adult up a little bit or, you know, have your parents help you follow up. And I hope parents are on these sessions too, or you can share this later, guys. We're recording this session. It'll be on YouTube really until we take it down. So we're gonna leave it up a while and share it with your parents, but follow up. That self-service portal and Eagle Advisor are your friend. If you don't understand how to set that up, please email me or Maricela or Suzanne or any of us, because I'll just forward your questions to financial aid if I don't understand it, and they're great on replying. My email is outreach@msjc.edu. It's that simple, or visit the hub. There's a lot of emails there that you can, and we're just waiting for your questions. So we're not messing around. We're here, we're just in a different place, and we want to hear from you. So set up Eagle Advisor, activate your student email, and any questions about how to do that, or if something's not working right. Yesterday we had a question about they never got their activation code. Yeah, sometimes that happens, and it's for a various amount of reasons. I can help you with that. Just request another one from Eagle Advisor. Things like that. So we know the workarounds. We know why, it's just a database and technology, guys. So be patient, be persistent, keep asking questions. How do I get on a wait list for a class? What's the status of my financial aid packet? Because you want to know if you have to pay out of pocket. You have to pay for classes as soon as you register for classes. And if you don't pay or your financial aid doesn't pick it up, they're going to drop you, and we don't want that to happen. So find out the status of your financial aid. Make sure you have that fee waiver. And you'll know as soon as you register for classes on Eagle Advisor, go over to the link that says registration statement. And if you have a balance due, then you've got to pay that within, right away. I would pay it the same day before midnight, because depending on where we are in the semester, things change, and then you're not dropped. It's so frustrating. But I love that we're doing this now, because you have a chance to follow up with Whitney or other financial aid technicians like Jonica or Emily to see what the status of your financial aid is and see if you got your fee waiver. Okay, then you know how to plan. So if you didn't get the fee waiver this year, maybe you'll get it next year. Hey, the first time I had 2 students in college at the same time, things changed in our household budget, and the federal government saw that, so they were able to give us a fee waiver for a year. That's a $1,000 bonus for you if you're full-time. So find out how to get these bonuses and these fee waivers. Most of us get the Promise grant, which is a fee waiver. It's just the way of our district. So why not get a bonus? Yeah. We're coming up on 11:50. Please keep the questions rolling in, and I'll get it back to Whitney. I just had to recap a little bit of what I heard. What a great presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh. Sorry, guys, that just went 3 different.
That was fun. Yeah.
Making sure you're still paying attention.
So, hey, I'm going to, rather than leave a big block of silence here, check in with our moderators. Do you suggest we hang in here a couple more minutes with some more questions? Even questions that show up later, we will answer. Okay, we're going to check the chat box as we transition into our next presenter here. So what do you think, guys?
And keep in mind too, everybody, that if you do have those personal questions, you can reach out to our team now, and there are technicians ready to assist you as well.
Repeat that, sorry.
Oh, that if they do have personal questions pertaining to their own situation, not just a general question, we have our Cranium Cafe lobby system and our phones. So definitely utilize those. We're there to help that way as well, if in case you didn't get a question answered today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Emily, Jonica, any feedback or anything you'd like to add, or, we'll kind of stretch for time here to let some more questions roll in. We're almost ready to transition into our next presenter, but we can sit here and give you the full hour if questions are still rolling in. Thank you.
There are currently no lingering questions, and through the chat, we've done an excellent job of adding additional email information and contacts. So students are more than welcome to reach out at any given point, but there seems to be no more lingering questions. Emily and Jonica did an awesome job in answering that, and as well as our presenter. Phenomenal work.
Indeed, and do use those resources. I love information. I'm that geek. I love libraries. I love info, because that's how you get the answers. That's how you get the info. Share that info. I kind of love the vibe that's going around right now. We're in this together. We're in this college thing together too, everybody. So help each other out. Reach out and just confirm questions that or concerns that you have, because our administration is listening too. students matter. We want to see that you're successful. You're going to be an amazing college student. We have free tutoring in every subject, the financial aid that helps you pay for classes, and you'll be surprised. It always feels good when you get those little bonuses or you get the resources you need. There's a ton of resources at the hub. So check into that msjc.edu/hub, HUB. I'm going to make a wrap here so you remember. There's a ton of resources there. And then of course, Cranium Cafe is where we can meet virtually with counseling. Please come back tomorrow at this time and in the afternoon session. You have the links in your RSVP that you got. Thanks, Maricela, for posting the hub. Because we're going to meet with counseling tomorrow to learn everything about your educational planning. What classes do I need to be that nurse? What classes do I need to get that business degree? How can I get there as fast as possible and get through my prereqs and transfer out to university? How can I get that certificate? And then at noon tomorrow, we're going to meet with all of our great student success resource sessions as well. There's multiple sessions. They're going to be quick little 10-minute elevator speeches, so to speak, but a great opportunity to learn about resources. But it's all at that hub.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now.
Whitney, thank you so much. Any closing statements or conclusions?
You know, kind of what you heard me say throughout the presentation. Just know that we're here to help at any point in your college career, and then just really knowing how we communicate to you, where to check. Again, just having that educational plan in place. If you are having difficulties with any of your classes, always come in and check with us on how that could potentially impact your financial aid, whether it's in the current term or future, and just knowing to renew those applications every single year, checking your self-service. And yeah, as Beth said, know that we're here to help and we're all in this together and we want to see you succeed.
Absolutely. So keep the questions coming even as we transition into our next presentation. Whitney, thanks again. Jonica Escobar.
Good luck and have a wonderful day.
Yeah. And Suzanne Ortega, thank you. Maricela, thank you. Emily, what a fireball there. Answering all those questions and being on top. I can't type that fast, so you're awesome. I'm going to come back to the screen here. Hi. And introduce our next presenter, because we're just 2 minutes out. We'll go ahead and transition over if there aren't any more questions. But even if there are, hey, we're here. We're going to be back doing the same thing at what time? 3 o'clock to 4 with financial aid, and then 4 to 5 with FYE. So on that note, our next presenter is Brittany Mondragon, who is, I'm going to get her title right, the director, so interim FYE coordinator. She's done a fabulous job of promoting FYE, getting you guys into workshops. She's going to talk about what FYE is. We call it first year experience, and we're big on acronyms and abbreviations in college, so we abbreviated FYE. Brittany Mondragon is here. I will go ahead and ask her to introduce herself fully and dive right into it. Why not? Thank you for being here, Brittany. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Beth. So like Beth said, my name's Brittany Mondragon. I am the first year experience coordinator. I have been overseeing the first year experience program just recently since September. But before that, I was part of the first year experience program overseeing our mentors for the past 2 years. So really, I've been with the FYE program here at Mount San Jacinto College for about 3 years now, and it's something I really enjoy doing. I myself was a first generation college student. I had no clue what I was doing when I started college. My parents didn't go to college. I didn't have anybody really there to support me, and I didn't have a program like the FYE program. And so now that I'm coordinating a program like this and really giving back to students, I really do feel like our program makes a big difference in the lives of students. With me today is one of our FYE mentors, Darnell Bailey. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him so he can introduce himself. Hi, Darnell.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I'm Darnell. So I am a first year experience mentor. So really get that opportunity to really help the students out on that day-to-day basis, just being available for them in the LRC. And now on Cranium Cafe, to be able to have them come in and really just ask any of those questions. For me personally, I'm not a first generation college student, but I am very independent. So, not my parents are definitely involved and very supportive, but they also, want me to have that responsibility to be able to do things on my own. So, definitely kind of get the best of both worlds in that way. For myself, I participate in the honors program. I'm an EOPS student, which is really cool. And so just really, I get to dip into a lot of different areas of the college, and that way and it really helps to benefit for the students as well, because I have that experience to help give them the benefit of my experience. So.
Great, thank you, Darnell. So please put your comments or questions in the chat down below on the YouTube. Maricela is going to be helping us just relay those questions. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, just put those in the chat box, and then I'll ask if there's any questions. Marcella can jump in, let us know if there's any questions. So we're really just wanting to make sure you get all of your questions answered. Since you've been here already for an hour, you're going to be with us for about another hour, and we really just want to make sure that this time that you've spent with us is really fruitful and you're getting your questions answered.
One thing I wondered, not to interrupt, sorry, Brittany, but if you could show us at some point, not now, and maybe you already plan on doing this, show us the hub, what is it? And yeah, because it's a link, but maybe you can visually show us that again later, whenever, and Cranium Cafe. What is, all these new terms that we're learning in this virtual world, let's show them what some of that looks like. And then I know you're going to show us how to apply, so thanks.
Yes, of course. So again, like Beth said, we are really here to help guide you through the entire onboarding process. And we'll be showing you a lot of these new features that have come out, seeing that we are now in a virtual learning environment. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you so we can get started with the PowerPoint. And can everybody see that okay? I believe so. So again, I've already kind of mentioned what is FYE. Beth did a fantastic job of introducing us, but really we are here to support incoming students their first 2 semesters here at MSJC, supporting them through the onboarding process. And what we mean by that is from this point, by the time you apply, to filling out your FAFSA, completing the orientation video, registering, and then, oh great, now you're in class, now what? How do you work Canvas? How do you do all of these things? How do you, really be a student at college? We are here to be that support system for you. And as a result, students in our program are more likely to continue on to their second year than students who don't join our FYE program. And our data from 2018 actually shows that students who joined FYE had a persistence rate that was 15% higher, meaning that they transitioned from fall into spring semester more easily and actually applied for the following semester. They were 15% more likely to do that than students who weren't receiving support from the first year experience program. And again, like I said, we're really here to support you your first 2 semesters. That doesn't mean that once you're in your second year that we no longer are supporting you. That's not what I'm saying at all, but we do have a lot of students who are apprehensive or a little unsure about how to really transition into college. If you're coming straight from high school into college, it's very different. And I see Darnell nodding his head. So there is a big difference there. Maybe you've been out of school for a few years, and now you've decided to come and continue on in higher education. That can be a transition as well, especially if you have other obligations like family, kids. So again, we're really here to support you with that. So really quick, I do want to introduce you to the entire FYE team. There is myself. There's also Leticia Luna Sims, who directly supports our FYE program. She is our student success coordinator. And then the two people we really want you to get familiar with is Cynthia Vargas and Diana Serrano. Those are our FYE counselors. Diana Serrano primarily works at the Menifee campus, and Cynthia Vargas works primarily at the San Jacinto campus. They are available to meet with students through Cranium Cafe, so I will be showing you in a little bit how to actually access Cranium Cafe and meet with a counselor. But I do recommend that once everything's kind of back to normal and we are able to have classes again face-to-face and on campus, that you reach out to the counselor that's going to be associated with your primary campus. So if you're planning on going to Menifee mostly, maybe contact Diana Serrano. If you plan to go to San Jacinto, you might want to contact Cynthia Vargas. And then we also have Isamar Amaya. She is our new FYE mentoring specialist. So she really oversees all of the training, the hiring, all of that for our FYE mentors like Darnell. So that's a little bit about our team. Feel free to email us if you want to take a picture of this while I'm presenting it. Please do so, because you can always email us if you have any questions about you know, what should I do next? What should I, like, I don't know, I've done the orientation video, but now what? So we'll be able to help guide you. So who can join the FYE program? Pretty much every first-time college student is able to join the FYE program. So if you are brand new, you've never taken college classes, you're coming straight from high school, you would be accepted into the program. If you've never attended college before, and maybe you've been out of school for a long time and have decided to continue on with your education, you would be accepted into the program. For students who did take college classes during high school, so our dual or concurrent enrollment students, if you took courses through MSJC, you are still eligible to join the FYE program. So again, if you were dual or concurrent enrollment students who took courses through MSJC, you would still be eligible for our program. The only time you would not be eligible is if you are coming in with transfer units. So if you were taking courses, let's say at Crafton Hills College or RCC, and now you're moving over to MSJC, then we consider that transfer units. And so you would not be considered a first-time college student. But other than that, I don't see why any first-time college student shouldn't join our program. It really is here to benefit you. So just to highlight really quick, I will be going into more depth about these benefits of joining our program, but I really do want to highlight them in the forefront to really grab your attention. The first reason why students tend to want to join our program is because we provide early registration to students their first year at MSJC. So that includes fall 2020 and spring 2021. You would be able to register for classes early. Also, the MSJC Promise program eligibility. Whitney did a fantastic job on introducing the Promise program. I will be kind of relaying the same information, but again, as she said, you do need to be in the FYE program currently to be eligible for the Promise program. We have Summer Bridge, which is my favorite thing about FYE, honestly. It's our 2-day orientation into college. I see Darnell smiling, so I'm going to pass it over to him in a few seconds to kind of just share his experience about Summer Bridge. We have our FYE counselors. So again, Diana Serrano and Cynthia Vargas. We have our peer mentorship. We also, through our Guidance 100 class, support you in your career and transfer planning, as well as our counseling. And then we do host workshops and events throughout the year. Some of them are social, some of them are more academic based. They are going to be virtual this year, so we do hope that you join us. Just continue to check the FYE website at msjc.edu/FYE because we will be posting information about that. And so I'm going to actually pass it over to Darnell really quick because he was smiling a lot about Summer Bridge, and I know he has participated in that. And so I'm just going to turn it over to him really quick to give a student's perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Brittany. Yeah, I definitely really enjoyed Summer Bridge. just getting to do it from a mentor perspective, and really getting the opportunity to help students with that new incoming process. And so it really is just what it sounds like, summer bridge. It's taking the opportunity during the summer to bridge that gap between wherever you're coming from into whether it be high school or just being in the career field, and then bridging that gap into your first year of college. Just taking that time to give you the whole rundown on everything, a lot of the clubs on campus, the different student workforce opportunities. I know SI comes in and talks like about the workforce opportunity there, and then also the opportunity to attend SI, which the opportunity to get some extra help in class, and then just really getting to give them the rundown on financial aid, helping them with that, helping them register for classes, showing everybody how to do that. We have a time where we get to sit down and actually help sit with them and help answer any questions in the computer lab about how to register for classes for that fall semester. And so it's really a big help. I thought a lot of the students definitely really enjoyed it last summer, and that they got the opportunity even just to share. I remember Miss Brittany had us do the soccer ball game where we threw around the soccer ball, and kind of wherever it landed, there were different things written on the little hexagons or whatever. And it had you would share like a college experience, or like share whether or not you're a first generation student, or just different things to kind of help break the ice there. And so I thought that was really cool that even in summer bridge you kind of see that opportunity for students to get to establish friendship. Like if they see somebody across the room, like, oh, I have a lot of similar experiences to them, I heard them mention a lot of things, they may feel like there's a gateway there to even make those connections. So I thought it was really helpful in a lot of ways. I really enjoyed it.
Great, thank you, Darnell. All right, so now I'm going to talk a little bit more about early registration. So for early registration, this really is a huge perk for being in our program. All of our FYE students who apply by May 31st receive early registration for fall 2020 and spring 2021. And really, having early registration pretty much guarantees that you are able to get the classes that you need on a schedule that you like. A lot of incoming students, they kind of get last picks, for lack of a better word. The registration has been open for usually a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, and you're trying to figure out like, okay, well, I need this class, I need this class. And so you might end up having a class that's at 6 p.m. because it was the only one available and you needed that course. With early registration, you're able to pick those classes earlier than most students. So you're able to get that 10 a.m. class that you want, or that 2 p.m. class. So you're out of school by maybe 3 o'clock. So it's really a nice benefit for students. Most of our incoming students don't really realize how amazing early registration is until their second semester. And they go, man, I am so glad I joined the FYE program. So I got that early registration. So to give you a little bit more of an idea, most incoming college students land at the other registration group D, which is what we call college ready. And that means that most of our incoming students are either placed at college level math or English. They don't have any units queued to place them a little bit higher on the registration totem pole. And so most students get placed at college ready, which is again, that D category group. Our first year experienced students get placed at group A. So this isn't the same as priority registration. Priority registration are for students that are maybe in state mandated groups such as military, foster youth, homeless, students that are maybe in EOPS or DSPS. And so they get to register the very first day that classes are available. Our FYE students get to register on the second day, which is still really nice. Classes are not going to get filled up by then. And like I had said, a lot of our classes are impacted. If you're trying to get into a math, English, maybe chemistry, it can be very difficult sometimes as a first-year student to get into those core classes you need because everybody's trying to take them. And so, like I said, being an FYE really is a huge benefit. And I'm actually going to pass it back to Darnell really quick. He wasn't an FYE student, so I kind of want him to share some of his struggles, actually his first year trying to get into those classes. He's a pre-med major, and I know he had to take a lot of those chemistry, biology classes, so that was a little bit of a challenge. So Darnell, would you like to share a little bit, please?
Yes, I was actually more fortunate than most, but the first semester was it was a little tricky. There was a lot of like having to, by the time I got my registration date, it was a pretty late registration date that first semester. And so there was a lot of like shuffling and switching. It probably took me like I want to say 3 to 3.5 hours to register, just sitting down at the computer and then like trying to rework schedules to make it fit. Versus now, where I actually have priority registration through a couple different groups. I'm involved in EOPS and honors, but having that priority registration now, it's like 5, maybe 10 minutes, and but like before, yeah, without that earlier priority registration, it really takes a lot of work and effort to first find a class using Rate My Professor, which you'll probably find out about later. But using Rate My Professor and like, oh, this is a good class that I'm comfortable with taking, and then finding one that fits in your schedule. So it can be a lot of work, and early registration definitely makes it a lot easier.
Great, thank you. Alrighty, so like I had mentioned, you do want to register for FYE or apply for FYE by May 31st, which is in a couple of days, in order to secure early registration for fall 2020 and spring 2021. Our application will still be opened after May 31st, but students who apply after that May 31st date will only receive early registration for spring 2021. And the reason why is our college does have certain deadline dates for enrollment services. We have to have our schedule out. Our registration dates are released much earlier in the year than when you actually do register for classes. So we do have our own due dates. So you just want to keep in the back of your head, apply by May 31st in order to have both semesters of early registration. Otherwise, if you apply afterwards, then you would only get it for spring 2021. And then we do usually close our application the first day of the fall semester. To help us out, even though in our system we can flag you as an FYE student and you should be receiving early registration, there are still some state policies that you need to complete in order to actually receive early registration. And this is where that matriculation process or onboarding process can really cause confusion for students. So if you ever have any questions with like, what's my next step, please email us, call us, let us know that you need assistance because we are here to help you. But the two things to really make sure you have completed is have an educational plan on file. That is essential. I know that when financial aid was presenting, they were talking about that. If you join us tomorrow, I believe counseling is going to be talking, and they're going to go into more depth about counseling and how to create an ed plan and all that great stuff. But it really is important to have an educational plan. It's your roadmap into college. It shows your entire 2, maybe 3 years here at MSJC, showing you the classes you need to take, and just making sure you're on the right track so you're able to transfer to the places you want to transfer or graduate on time, and it's not affecting your financial aid too if you're taking classes you don't really need to take or things like that. So it's really important to have an educational plan on file. You also want to complete the orientation video. You can find the orientation video. I believe they send an email now telling you to activate your account with the information on how to access that orientation video. Or you can go through Eagle Advisor. And once you log into Eagle Advisor, I can show you a little bit later, you'll scroll down to the very bottom where it says pre-registration, and it says welcome new students, and it has the orientation video link. So you'll want to click that and then complete the short little quiz at the very end of that. If you have those two things completed, the educational plan and the orientation video, then we can pretty much guarantee those holds will be cleared so you can actually get that early registration date. Otherwise, you're actually going to get backtracked and have a later date. And so, like I said, our first year experience students get that registration group A. If you don't complete the ed plan or an orientation video or have any other holds, you actually get placed here, which is registration group B, or I'm sorry, G, which is our non-matriculated students. And so again, it's really important that you are communicating with us, letting us know like, hey, what are my next steps? Because between those two arrows, that's about a 2 to 3 week difference between being able to register for classes. So really, really important to let us know what you need help with on that onboarding process. So the next part I wanted to talk about is our MSJC Promise. Whitney did a really great job already at talking about the Promise, but if you weren't able to see that or join us earlier, the MSJC Promise is a reimbursement-based free tuition. So about 70% of our students receive some sort of state or federal aid. And so they would not be eligible for the MSJC Promise. For the remaining 30% of students who are having to pay out of pocket, are not receiving any sort of state or federal assistance, that's where the MSJC Promise comes in at. And to be eligible, these are the criteria that you need to meet currently to be considered for the MSJC Promise. The first is being an FYE, a California resident or exempt group, have a high school diploma or GED, be a first-time college student. So that means, again, no transfer units from another university or college. You do have to apply for FAFSA or the California Dream Act. And the reason why is they want to make sure that you are not eligible for any other state or federal assistance. So you do need to complete those prior to getting information about the MSJC Promise. You do need to be enrolled full-time, and what we mean by that is you are taking 12 units or more fall and spring semester. And so to give you an idea, most of our courses are about 3 to 4 units apiece. So if you are taking 4 3-unit classes, that would be considered full-time because that equals 12. Or it could be if you're taking 4 4-unit classes, which I don't know if I recommend that because that sounds like a lot, that would place you at 16 units. And so you just want to kind of do the math there, making sure you are full-time. You do want to take math, English, and guidance your first year and maintain a 2.0 GPA. Now, one question we get asked a lot is, well, when am I going to be notified if I'm eligible for the MSJC Promise? So you will be notified, I would say, around October. So once fall semester begins, you've registered for classes. The classes have been going on for a while and they have a solid head count of who's in what class. Then we end up pulling that information, and financial aid sends out that email notifying everybody that they are eligible. Really, really important, as Whitney had mentioned, please check your student email. We will not email you financial aid documents or anything that would be deemed sensitive to any personal emails. And so a lot of incoming students don't actually check their email, which is really unfortunate because that's where all of our information goes to you. And so if we need forms or there's somebody's trying to contact you to a different office, then you want to make sure your MSJC email is set up. What I highly recommend is connect it to your phone, because to be honest, I understand it is hard to log onto a computer, log onto Eagle Advisor, then open up, your email address. That's a lot of steps. But if you just have it connected to your phone through settings, it's it's much easier. And so I'm actually going to pass it to Darnell really quick and have him kind of talk about the importance of having his email set up, because he responds to emails super quick. So I know he has it connected to his phone. So Darnell.
Yes, yeah, so definitely want those emails. You want that student email activated, and I definitely, like Miss Brittany said, recommend connecting it to your phone. It does make it a lot faster, and you can, set it up to push notifications, which is, if you don't know what that is, that's just like the way a text message pops in on your phone. You'll receive it that same kind of way with an email. And you can come see an FYE mentor and kind of get help with all that, because you don't have to have it pop up right when it comes in. It can be every hour, once a day, whatever. But anyhow, it's definitely really helpful, because I'm already using my phone. I check my notifications regularly for personal and business related things, and you definitely want to see those emails, because there's a lot of opportunities, even necessarily things that may not necessarily be, it could be important things that you need to know. It could be just helpful information that will help you have an easier time in college. I know there's a lot of things that I found out just from reading emails, whether it be from a professor, from another faculty member. I found out about EOPS and a bunch of other things just from professor tips and emails and stuff. And so it wasn't, you could find out about a lot of extra helpful programs and things like that. Sometimes your professor may send an email out to all the students instead of putting it on Canvas or whatever the case may be. That's happened before. And it can be really important information. So definitely really helpful, and helpful with being able to reply really quick, because it's more closer to a text message than it is in that type of accessibility than it is an email. So.
Great. And like Darnell said, if you're needing assistance with that, please chat with an FYE mentor. You can do that through Cranium Cafe now. They'll open up like a meeting room similar to kind of like this, but through Zoom. And they'll be able to screen share and help you with that, because it really is important. So next, we're going to talk about how to actually apply for FYE. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quick with the PowerPoint and actually do a live demo of what you would be seeing there. So please give me a moment. So if we're on the main MSJC homepage, so at msjc.edu, and if you go to Student Life and then scroll down to First Year Experience, you'll click here and you will see our FYE homepage. If you haven't had a chance already, I do highly recommend that you explore this. Our tabs here, we have a lot of great information. But to submit the FYE application, you will go to this very obvious red box here that says submit your MSJC FYE application today. You can click that and you'll be directed to a form, and it's going to take a little second to load, but it's a very quick and simple form. It's asking for some very basic information. It is going to ask for your student ID number, and so you do want to check your email. Once you apply to MSJC, you should have received a confirmation email, I would say within 15-20 minutes of applying, that gives you your username and your student ID number. I would write that down because you will be needing your student ID number and username to log into pretty much everything. And you'll enter that there. We do ask that you put an email address. If you are coming from high school, do not put your high school email address. Okay, so do not use a high school email address, because the reason why is once you've graduated, they're going to deactivate that account. And so we will be sending emails to you. They'll be bouncing back to us because the email address is no longer valid and you're not getting those in emails. So please put like a personal Gmail or Yahoo, whatever it is. I don't know if anybody uses Yahoo anymore, but just a personal email, and then you'll click submit. Once you click submit, it is going to go to a gray screen that shows nothing to display. That's okay. We did receive the application. It's just something with the system. Once you click submit, it opened up this application into a new tab, and the computer just doesn't know where to go. So if you see that gray screen pop up, don't worry. We did receive your application, and you should hear from us. We do review applications about every 3 to 4 weeks. I go through and start accepting applications, so you will be hearing from us. So that's a little bit there. I'm going to continue on. So the next little bit is our FYE counselors, and now also our FYE mentors are available on Cranium Cafe. There are multiple ways you can actually access our FYE counselors. I will show you two. One is directly through our FYE webpage, and the other one is through the new MSJC Hub. So I am going to show you how to do both of those really quickly. So if you haven't been paying attention too much during this presentation, I highly recommend you pay attention right now. So let me exit out of my screen really quick. I'm going to go back to our home page. So there, like I said, a couple of ways you can do this. Again, you can go to Student Life, First Year Experience Program, and then come here to access to FYE counselors and then schedule an appointment with an FYE counselor. So that is one way you can do it. I'm going to show you another way. It's going to take you to the exact same page though. So again, if I'm here at the main MSJC homepage, up here at the very top in this black dark gray banner is the Student Support Hub. This is going to be your new best friend here at the college, especially since everything's virtual right now. So you'll just click up here and you will be directed to this web page. And this really houses all of our programs and services that are available to you if we were face-to-face. So we wanted to really make sure at MSJC that you still had those services available to you, whether you're being able to come onto campus or not. And so up here are probably our top 4 resources students reach out to. We have enrollment services, financial aid. Down here, we have counseling services. So there's several different counselors for different programs. We have our general counseling. We have career education. So if you're looking at going into something that's more career or certificate focused, like water technology, or maybe you're looking at internships, there's a lot of great stuff here. Our healthcare center. So we still have our mental health care counselors who can meet with you. Along with all of our other programs. Like Darnell said, he's part of EOPS, we have Puente, we have Emoja. So a lot of great clubs, programs, and services. We also have our first year experience page here. So I'm going to click first year experience and then here click FYE appointments. And you will be directed to this page. As you can see, both Diana and Cynthia are meeting with students right now. Because they have this little yellow box that says away. If they're offline, it will say offline, so similar to this little red dot. And if they're available, it will show green and have a little chat feature. So, and it will say online. So right now, let's say you wanted to schedule an appointment with Cynthia Vargas. You could go here to schedule a meeting. You will agree to the consent terms, and then you will log into Canvas. So to log into Canvas, that is going to be your username and password. So it's going to be your first initial, last name, and the last 3 digits of your student ID number. And then you will log in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick. And then this page will pop up. All it's asking is for you to confirm that that is you, because it's connecting Canvas with Cranium Cafe. So yes, my name is Brittany Mondragon. I'm going to authorize that. And then this box will pop up. So like I said, I wanted to meet with Cynthia Vargas, who's one of our FYE counselors. We can schedule a 1-hour appointment. Go to next week. So she's already booked this week. So if I look at maybe that June 3rd, Cynthia Vargas, 1-hour appointments, select a meeting location, that's going to be video. I want Wednesday and that 3 to 4 looks really good. So I can click that. And then you will be prompted to this screen here. So you'll have your name, phone number, ID number, what your educational goal is. If you're wanting to transfer, do you want a certificate? Are you planning on graduating? And then you can put a meeting topic here. Please provide any information you think would be beneficial for the counselor to know. Where you're planning on transferring to, what your major is, if you're, I don't know, running into maybe some financial struggles and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to pay for classes, you can put that information there. So our counselors can best support you in those 30 minutes or an hour that they have with you. And then what's really nice too is you can check this box and be sent a text message or an SMS message reminding you that you have a counseling appointment. So similar to many dentist office or doctor offices now, and you can attach any files here, and then you can go ahead and schedule the appointment. So that is how you log into Cranium Cafe. Really amazing, nice feature. A lot of students really enjoy it. And so I hope all of you are able to access this. If you have trouble accessing it, please contact an FYE mentor. We are still going to be taking like Zoom appointments later. So if you're unable to log into Cranium Cafe, you can still get assistance from our mentors to help you activate your accounts if you're a new incoming student. Just to share maybe a little bit more, I know financial aid already discussed this, but what you can also do is go to a virtual lobby. So I'm going to just jump in really quick into the financial aid lobby so you can see what it looks like. But here it says somebody will be with you shortly. There's nobody here in front of me. Like here you could see a line if there's other people ahead of you in that line, and then somebody will be able to assist you there. So again, you can do that for pretty much every single program here at the college. We also have our tutoring and resource center. So if you're needing assistance with tutoring, you can do that here through NetTutor. So some really great stuff. I really encourage you to explore a little bit. Alrighty, so I'm going to go back into our PowerPoint. So the next thing I want to talk about is what should be on a student's educational plan their first year. And I really want to stress that this is just very generic, what we see on most incoming college students' educational plans. You still want to meet with a counselor though to verify that these are really the classes you need to take. Again, this is just a very general, this is what we see very commonly. And so we just want to give you that information kind of in the forefront. So the first one is our Guidance 100 course. This really is a fantastic course where you do career exploration. A lot of times we have students that say, oh, I want to go into nursing. I want to be a nursing major. That's great, but they don't realize how much stuff or how many careers there are in nursing. Do they want to go into X-ray, sonography? Do they want to work with children in pediatrics? Do they maybe want to work at a nursing home, maybe in a cancer center? There's so many different options there, and they will require different educational attainment. So some might only require a certificate, while others might require a master's degree in nursing. And so this course allows you to really dive deeply into that and figure out, what's your lifestyle? Like, what are you wanting to see? Where do you want to see yourself in 10 years, essentially, and figure out, how much money can these different jobs make? Similar with business, we have a lot of business majors, but they don't really realize all the different things that they can do with a business degree. And so this class really allows you to do some exploration there. And we do require our first year experience students to take this course either in the summer semester or fall semester, whenever they choose to start taking classes. The course title is being changed to CSCR 100 in the fall. We are adding more career exploration components to it. So it's going to be standing for college success and career readiness. So that's a little bit of information there. Our next is English 101. So most of our incoming students get placed at English 101 or college ready English. And this really is a great course. It is different than your high school courses. So I'm actually going to pass it to Darnell and have him share some of his experiences about the difference between English in high school and English actually at college. So Darnell.
Yes. So for me, yes, high school English was more so. I think it was a lot more. I don't want to say curriculum based, but more so very like train of thought. They're going to do a lot more probably walking you through or taking time, and of course just in college in general, where you get a full school year, like you get the full 9 months basically to go through a class. Now that's cut in half. So where you were doing an English class across that had the same professor or teacher for 9 months and had that time with them to learn that information, you're pretty much learning that same amount of information, but in half the time now. And so with that's one of the major differences going into your basic English course, but it's a lot different in terms of the type of information. You may learn some things that you're like, I didn't even necessarily think that fell within the scope of English. But that's definitely what it is. I remember my freshman English professor. I really enjoyed her. I still go back to her for letters of recommendation and everything. That she taught the entire pretty much semester on rhetoric and just learning about which is pretty much just the art of persuasion, as they say. And so for me, it was a really cool experience with learning just in writing the concept of that underlying concept of writing, of how to get your point across to somebody in a convincing way, which of course is directly applicable to English, but you don't really think about that per se when you think about your standard English class from a high school perspective. So it's just almost a little bit more advanced of a critical thinking type of approach to any of your different courses, but specifically with English, you'll see that major difference. There. So it'll actually even help prepare you for writing pretty much in any subject across all those different fields, or whatever your career may be, or whatever other classes you encounter in your educational journey. So.
Yeah, thank you, Darnell, because that is so true. Having that English 101 class is really foundational, because you are going to be writing in your psychology classes, your history classes, even in the STEM field. I've heard of having to write portfolios and lab reports. So having those writing skills that are really essential. So the next one is math. There are, I would say, kind of three categories or three areas most of our incoming students place at with math. There is no longer placement testing. This is based off of things like after you meet with a counselor, they will determine which math course is best for you, depending on where you're transferring to and what major you are. And so most likely you will fall into one of these three categories. First is college algebra. This is where a good majority of our STEM students place. So if you're going into biology or chemistry or physics, more than likely you're going to go into college algebra, or even higher, maybe straight into calculus if you were already taking calculus at high school. There's also statistics, which is our Math 140 course. A lot of students also take this course. A lot of our psychology majors, it's really our catch-all. There are several students that get placed into statistics and take that route instead of college algebra. And then we have ideas of mathematics, and this is where a lot of our humanities or art students, they take this course to meet their educational goals. And so again, it's really important to meet with the counselor to verify which math course or which math sequence you should be taking, because we see this a lot. Oh, I was taking ideas of mathematics and statistics, but now I just realized I was supposed to be taking college algebra, and now I have to take another math course. which again can start affecting your financial aid because now you're taking courses that you didn't really need to take. So again, really, really important to follow up with a counselor and make sure that these are really the courses that you need to take. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is shifting gears is our summer bridge program. Like I said, this is probably my favorite, most fun thing to start planning for every year. It's our 2-day in-depth orientation about college, and really all first-year students really should join FYE specifically for this, and probably the early registration. Darnell did a great job just kind of sharing his experiences about Summer Bridge, but these are some of the things that you can expect. Students will learn about the campus resources. We usually give a really great campus tour. Unfortunately, this year we're not going to be able to do that, but we still are going to have information about our campus resources and where you can connect with them at. We'll talk about financial aid. We'll talk about college life and culture. And what we mean by that is a lot of incoming students, they don't know the they have like these anxieties about starting college. Like, do I raise my hand to go to the bathroom? Where do I buy my books at? How do I email a professor if I need an extension on the homework? Things like that. And so we cover a lot of that during Summer Bridge. You'll learn how to register for classes through the new self-service. You'll be able to learn how to read an educational plan. We go over how to read a schedule, how to read a catalog, because when you open up a schedule, it can be a little daunting. There's a lot of numbers and codes there, and so we show you how to read that. And then you also are just able to socialize with new students, meet with our mentors, our counselors. We have other programs come in and talk about different clubs on campus, so you know what clubs are out there. So a lot of really great stuff happens during Summer Bridge. So to register for Summer Bridge, you will want to first sign up for FYE, and then once you're accepted into FYE, you can go ahead and register for Summer Bridge. I can show you how to do that right after this, but we did have to change our dates and times due to COVID. So if you saw a flyer back in December or January, please disregard that because we did have to change our dates and times. So these are the new dates. On my right-hand side, we have a total of 14 mini summer bridges this year that run through June and July. We have our morning sessions that are from 9 to 12 and our afternoon sessions that are 1 to 4. So you get to pick and choose if you want to come in the morning or come in the afternoon. And then if you've already taken that Guidance 100 course, like if you were already like a dual enrollment or concurrent enrollment student and you already took guidance in high school, then we always tell those students to enroll in Summer Bridge because we still give you a lot of great information. So that's just something to keep in mind too. So really quick, I'm going to stop sharing this screen and go to another screen to show you how to sign up for Summer Bridge. Again, you'll go to first year experience, and then down here it says join us for Summer Bridge. You can click here, and then you'll scroll down to the bottom that says register for Summer Bridge. And you'll be sent to this Eventbrite link. And so you'll go ahead, click register, and then you will choose which one you want to attend. You can see that our June ones are already sold out. So you would come down here to July and you could click, oh, I want to get one ticket. I want to come June 8th and June 9th from 9 to 12. So it's just those 2 days from 9 to 12. And then you'll register and then you'll get a confirmation. And then later closer to that actual Summer Bridge date, we will send you a link with the Zoom information on how to join us virtually. So one thing that we also get asked is, well, how should I prepare for college over the summer? Well, there's really a I would say 3 tracks that most of our students take. So these are just example schedules. Again, you want to talk to a counselor, make sure that this would work for you. So the first one is if you're not wanting to take a class over summer and you're like, you know what, I want my summer off, I don't blame you, but we do encourage you to attend Summer Bridge. It's just 2 days out of your summer. And then in fall 2020, you'll take that Guidance 100 course, which will be that CSCR course, since we're changing the title. Then probably you'll see English and math and maybe some other courses, maybe one other course on your educational plan. Students who do want to take a course over summer, we highly recommend that you take that Guidance 100 course as your first course. And like I said, FYE students already have to take Guidance 100, so why not get this one out of the way? It's all on career exploration. They talk about how to navigate Canvas, which is our learning management system. So that's where you're going to be going in and doing all of your assignments, uploading assignments, looking at class syllabi, all of that stuff. If you ever need assistance with that though, you can go to our FYE mentors. And then you can take your regular classes. And then we have some students that choose to do both. Some students are like, you know what, I'm just going to go all in. I'm going to take Guidance 100 and enroll in Summer Bridge. And so we do have some students that decide to do both during the summer, and then they just continue on with their normal course load during the fall. So those are really the 3 options that we lay before you with starting your first year here at the college, and if you're with FYE. Okay, so the last little bit that I want to talk about is our FYE mentors and show you how to connect with them through Cranium. They really are just a great bunch of students, and I'm going to pass it over to Darnell because I think he's going to do a much better job at explaining what they do and how they support students. But it really is a great program, just talking to other students who have been there, done that. Most of our students have been here for 2 years, maybe 3, they're getting ready to graduate. And yeah, so they're really great. If once we're back onto campus, you will see these buttons that say, I'm an FYE mentor, ask me. So they do have to wear those. So if you see them on their shirts or they're on their backpack, wherever, that is a safe space for you to go and ask those questions. And so don't feel like, oh man, is that a silly question? I don't know, because we were all there. And so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Darnell to kind of just talk about some of the things that our FYE mentors do and what you can ask them.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Brittany. So we get to do a lot of different things. So I'm going to try to wrap it up best I can. But just in that, and you sit there in the LRC, like I said earlier, for you guys to come and ask us any question at any time, or you can schedule it on an appointment basis. Right now, being virtual through the Cranium Cafe, you still kind of actually get that same feel. So it's kind of cool. You can do the knock on the door and talk to us really quick, or you can schedule an appointment and we do a full meeting. So that's pretty cool. But just in the whole process of you guys coming to sit down with us, we really just share the benefit of our experience with you guys, from the things that we've learned, the things that we've discovered, and we really are a network and we are a team. So even while we have more experience than you, just being here for myself 2 years. I know my co-workers have been here for 3 years, 2 years, that just being together, we really, even just individually having the benefit of our experience, we also network and work as a team. So we're constantly gaining information from one another on how to better assist you. Another FYE mentor, the one you see in the picture on the left in the middle, Ariana, she's been here for 3 years. I think she's really, so she knows some things that I don't know. I know some things that she doesn't know. And so we get to exchange a lot of information. And if I don't know something, I'll ask one of my other mentors. The best thing I like to tell people is that our job is to either know the information that you need us to know how to get you to the person who knows, or if we don't even know who, then our job is to be able to find out quickly whoever it is that you need to go to, who you need to see. And so really any one of those 3 options, I think we're really a really great gateway as a team to really get you the answers that you need, or get you started on whatever process you need to fix whatever you're trying to fix or get the answer to whatever you're trying to answer. We help a lot with all the things that you need as a student, things that may not mean anything to you right now, but Eagle Advisor, Canvas, registration, FAFSA scholarships. There's a lot like programs and services. I mentioned EOPS. One thing I recommend to a lot of students is while you have that year buffer time on FYE and you have that early registration, find another program to get you priority registration before you finish with FYE, so that you have that, you never have to go through that process of trying to figure out how to register for classes. Because if you don't know, unlike high school, college classes can fill up and you won't be able to get into the class and it'll be difficult to find another. So anyhow, that's kind of what we do in a nutshell, and there's so much more. But just to tell you, we pretty much, if you don't have any idea where to go, I really recommend coming to the FYE mentors, and we can either send you where to go, or we may be the right place for you to answer that question directly.
Yeah, and to add to what Darnell said, sometimes it can be intimidating to talk to staff. And our mentors are students just like you. They are here, but they have some experience. They're going through some of the same struggles that a lot of our incoming students face. And so if you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or you're trying to figure out, well, I work, I have kids, I'm trying to take these full-time classes, they can sit down with you and create a schedule with you, or kind of talk through it with you about, okay, well, here are these due dates. Let's set something up, and kind of help relieve a lot of that stress that you might be feeling. They will probably direct you to different resources like financial aid. They're not going to be sitting there walking you through like everything through, all of your different options, because they can't look at your accounts. The same with educational planning. They can't create the educational plan for you, but what they can do is they can show you how to register for the classes and show you how to read a schedule or the catalog, because our counselors might be meeting with other students and they're too busy to actually do that. Same with financial aid. If financial aid says, oh, I need you to fill out this form, our mentors might be able to assist you with finding where that form is on the new self-service, if for some reason financial aid wasn't able to do that. And so our mentors are really here to be like your lifeline, your liaison between different programs, and really here to support you. So please schedule meetings with them through Cranium Cafe. You can schedule a full meeting, or you can just chat them really quick. If you're like, hey, I need a place to buy books, like, do you have any tips? You might not need a full 30 minutes to go over that, but maybe 5 minutes of their time could save you a lot of trouble in the end. So the last thing I want to say is please like us on Facebook and Instagram. We do have our own account. We do keep it updated with a lot of great information. So again, just follow us. I do highly recommend that you also follow the college's main page as well, and have that. It's #MSJC, and just staying connected is super important. So please like us. And with that, just a reminder to apply by May 31st to receive early registration for fall 2020 and spring 2021. And with that, I think we have just a few more minutes to see if there's any questions at all.
Perfect timing. Yeah, you guys were awesome. Those of you who are on YouTube, thank you for the great questions, and keep them coming. The last few minutes here, we're going to wrap it up. But Darnell, what a great way to connect. Did you catch it, guys? They have a whole team that can help you get this college thing started. And with that, you can't lose. You're going to be amazing. I mean, a lot of folks do this college thing on their own, but join FYE so you get all this extra support. You get your own counseling and a whole team that can help you along the way. It is easier than you can imagine, but it seems daunting, especially if you don't have any role models as a college student. My parents went to college, but it was still kind of weird, how to get this college thing going. So take advantage of these programs, and that's why we asked Darnell and Brittany here today. Don't second guess yourself thinking that you can't do this college thing, or that you don't qualify for this or that, the other thing. These programs are put in place by the state of California to see to your success, and it really can be done. So apply to MSJC first. The online application is at the homepage. If you click on the big red button that says enroll now, within minutes, you get an ID number from MSJC. That was one of the questions in the chat. You need that ID number so you can then apply to the first year experience program. Your FAFSA is a separate application. Do that early every year so that you can qualify for these other programs like the Promise program. There's a Promise grant as well that most of us get. They're both fee waivers. So just apply for all the things. Now, can we apply after May 31st to FYE? We just won't get the early registration, Brittany, is that correct?
They can apply after May 31st for FYE, but they will only receive early registration for spring 2021. So instead of 2 semesters, it's just 1 semester.
Okay,
So that's a good
thank
question.
you. And I think it's right in front of me there on the screen. That's great.
Oh no,
but
that
I like
is okay.
yeah, I like to hear it too. Okay, and you know, I'm so happy you showed us how to make that appointment. That we got a visual. If you guys were watching, it was right there. How to make an appointment with a counselor and how to make an appointment with an FYE counselor or mentor. These are students that are doing it right now, so they're living it. They know how to share, you know, that hot tip on how to do this, that, and the other thing, like they mentioned. So thank you, Darnell. That's huge. Come back today at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock to hear it all over again. Bring your parents back so they can hear it again. We're going to post it on YouTube so you can hear it again and replay things, kind of scroll through or scrub through the video to catch a part that you really wanted to hear. I applaud high school seniors. You're on your way. This is stressful times. This is all a new world for many of us. Don't think you can't do this online thing, but don't stop trying to get your education. Baby steps, right? So maybe you just take 1 class or go full time. You've got the support of FYE and of outreach and student life and development to do all of this. And if you don't find a counselor you're comfortable with, find another one. We've got a whole team of counselors, right? Darnell shaking his head. I remember that. I couldn't figure out what these counselors were talking about. And then I finally found Mike Rose. He was my go-to, and I was meeting with Mike Rose all the time. And you can do that once you're a continuing student, is find your favorite or connect via email. Mike Rose is retired now because I'm old, but that was my go-to. So I remember just trying to find my person and my people and my mentors, find a mentor for college, and they can be lifelong friends for you. They can be letters of recommendation for you for jobs and for college applications. Folks like Darnell and Brittany, they're there for you even beyond college. Okay, well, I will pipe down here and take any more questions on the chat because I'm on Zoom again here. Maricela, you were fabulous in typing fast and answering those questions. I hope this was helpful. Well, then keep the questions coming. Like I said, we're going to be back. We're not going away. We're here. We're just here virtually. So outreach@msjc.edu, or you just saw the emails for FYE. I think we'll with that, we'll wrap things up because it's 101. Thank you. It's been recorded. Brittany, Darnell, thank you so much. I'm pointing to you on my computer screen. Bye for now. Have a great afternoon.
Bye. And welcome new FYE Eagles.
Absolutely. Welcome new Eagles. Bye.